and welcome to episode 493 of the Spitballing Pod. I'm Luke Byron, joined as always by Tom Kennett and Jack Harper. We have plenty to get into and not much time to get into all of it, so let's get going. England became only the third side in history to beat Mexico in a competitive game at the Azteca with a 3-2 win last night. They'll meet Norway in the next round after beating Brazil earlier in the day. Elsewhere, Balogun will feature against Belgium after his red card was overturned. I'll ask Jack and TK just how disgusted they were by the tactics of Paraguay in their 1-0 loss against France. Before any of that, though, how are we doing today?
One of the best.
It's the top of the world.
I forgot what it feels like for a team that I love to win a big game. Seems like a distant memory.
It's not a little while for me, yeah. Yeah.
I won't join in that conversation because I'll probably drag you both down and say it's actually not that enjoyable in a lot of the games because you've gone through so much to get there. But hey, the prize at the end of it makes it all worth it. And hopefully that's the same for England, although I've enjoyed these games a lot more. I didn't have much of in kind of last week's stuff to get into, but I did have a clip come across my radar in the last week that I'm hoping you've both seen. It was in celebration of Mexico's last game. Did you see the bloke that had his head put in a candy floss machine?
No, but I wish I had.
It's one of the funniest things I've ever seen because you can see his little mouth hole in the thing and it's just wrapping around his head.
Does he have hair prior or is he bald? Because I feel like
it's like checks in, like his whole face is covered, like he looks like a cartoon character. Like, if one of you types in like Candy Floss Man or Candy Floss Mexico on Twitter now, it'll come up. It's so good. And I didn't have much more than that because
where did you go from there?
Yeah, and I did think, we've done a pod already today that will be out later this week, and admittedly, we want to watch Spain-Portugal. It's basically it's basically the point of that. You both got to enjoy Japan, Brazil last week. I didn't quite so much, so we'll do that. Yeah, did open up the footage last week, and I was man-spreading straight down the lens for the intro. So some of the clips I put out, I thought, that's an aggressive stance. So I'll sit like a lady or half a lady this week. TK, we eased into the game yesterday drinking Mexican beer and playing retro football games on the PS3.
Nice, wasn't it?
We've been discussing methods to stay awake throughout the tournament. I have to say this one was right up there.
Yeah. Just get some old FIFA games, play them with your friends. That'll do it.
And the World Cup game, which movement on there compared to a modern FIFA, rough. And doing twist and stick on there. One of you gets Guatemala and the other one gets Benin or whoever that's going to be.
It did seem exclusively like half-star teams again at one point.
It's funny how similar we obviously all are, because that's exactly what we did last night to keep us awake during the rain delay. And I went on an absolutely unbeatable run with Elche from Spain. And they've got this player called German Valera, and he's got German V on the back of his shirt. And he scored back-to-back hat-tricks in 3 games for me. So I'm forever bonded with this man.
Got an affinity with him now, yeah.
Forever bonded with this man.
We were doing random and I had the unpleasant experience, although I did win of playing 2011 Chelsea, which could go down that squad list, and compared to the Arsenal squad list of the time. Squillaci was one of the 2 best centre-backs in the squad at the time.
Wow.
Nasty. Koscielny's just this little bitch boy getting pushed around when I had him out on the field, which changed in time.
Didn't I beat you in the last minute of extra time with Chelsea?
Sounds about right. Langston was Chelsea also. So.
Good stuff. Solomon Kalou, actually, I think, buried him with one off the crossbar. It didn't look like it went in. It was like Lampard style, but actually didn't go in this one.
Anyway, we'll move on. So I feel like telling other people about your FIFA games is a bit like telling other people about your dreams. And whoever brought that conversation up.
I was about to say,
Jack, you were watching in your garden, you said.
Yeah.
You obviously don't have any neighbours close enough to worry about, or your missus kicked you out of the house, so I'm just wondering which one it was.
Bit of both. So I live in the middle of a field, basically, so there's no one around me. And the missus was like, I'm not watching that in this house because I've got work in the morning. So needs must. We improvise. And it was a really nice way to watch it.
It could have been a horror film, that.
Yeah. The
The
picture I have of your house in my head is like you were definitely getting murdered there.
It backs onto a field, and they've got goats in that field, and they just rustle
Murderous goats.
They rustle past the fence at night because they move around, and it's fucking freaky. But then you realise they're just goats.
You might want to pull that mic a little bit closer at some stage, but there we go. This one felt big before the game. Host nation, cool stadium, conditions built up to be like stepping off a spaceship with no helmet. And then a raucous atmosphere on top of that. I loved being booed like the second after taking kickoff. And then it just had everything for both a memorable night and a very happy one. We had ups and downs and penalties and a red card, some bite. And just to stress again, we won, which means all of that is worth it at the end of it. You don't look as fondly back on Arsenal 4, Chelsea 2 at the Bridge as I do. It was a hell of a game. But there's not much in it for you come the end of it. This one, we get to celebrate at the end of it. We get to enjoy the down moments. And that penalty, shouldn't have given that away. And that red card at the time. And that's basically what we're going to do now. So
I woke up, rewatched the whole game, and I've watched the highlights there on YouTube at least 6 times already, just today. Just had it constantly playing.
The buzz.
I woke up and had to go to work half an hour later, so quick shower and leg it out of the house.
Yeah, that sucks.
I think I've been craving what could widely be considered as like a classic England game or performance. Because things had been so bad for so long, and although I don't think we don't appreciate where we are, because we haven't got over the line, I think it's constantly been about the next game each time. And then the type of opponent we have been playing, the draws have been favourable, but you don't look back as fondly on a win over Senegal as you do over Argentina or Brazil or a team that has a bit more heritage in the competition. And so I think for a lot of us in and around our age range, we have the nostalgia for the 2002 World Cup. And then we've got this big kind of blank of misery. And so the win against Colombia is in a lot of our like happiest memories of watching England, or at least one of the games that we would point out for being like, that was so good, that game, one where everyone was together watching it and we had the ups and the downs in that game and we did come out on top. This one feels like one that in 4, 8, 10 years time, when we're looking back on like, oh, that night when we were watching that, this feels like it could be one of them. The Netherlands one feels like it should be more of one, but I kind of don't associate much with that game outside of the single Ollie Watkins moment scoring at the end of it, whereas this one feels like the whole game, like everything that comes into it will be a big thing for me.
Yeah, I think there's a question mark over it, because that Kane pen that's given, it's kind of like, do we play well enough in the Holland game to look back on that and think that was a really good game for me to watch back?
I can't even remember.
Exactly. Yeah, so that's what I mean. I think this, like you said, has it all, where I've already watched the game back in its entirety because I wanted to feel and watch every minute without the gut-wrenching, heart-exploding anxiety that I was feeling whilst watching it. And you can sit there and just take it all in and think, shit. Because if you watch just the highlights, you miss out about 35 minutes of just relentless pressure.
Yes, and that's a big part of the story.
And that's the story.
Yeah. I mean, we watched, I think you knew immediately after as well that we'd seen something iconic, and it's not very often you say that about any game, but certainly not an England game, because the unique thing about this, like you said, it had been built up so much into it. You've got an iconic stadium with its own unique history and all the conditions and everything that have been factored in. The fact that we haven't played well for the most part, I thought we were going out to Congo at one point. And so that was sort of being brought in. And it was an equaliser because, let's face it, we have better players than Mexico, but they're coming in with the advantages of the conditions. And it had been built up so much. And typically when that happens, no game is up to it anyway, but certainly an England game, I thought is very likely we stink the gaff out here and get a narrow win or draw and then winning extra time or go to pens and then it's a lottery or whatever. And let's face it, it not only delivered in terms of entertainment, it had literally everything you can get in a football game with red cards, penalties, but also almost any other iconic England performance is glorious failure. Everything else is us going out of the tournament in some fashion, to Portugal several times, to Germany, losing on penalties. And that's why Colombia was a big one, because we won in a shootout. We haven't really done that before.
That was the first one.
Yeah, exactly. And then outside of that, you've got any of the big wins normally came against someone you should be offered.
Yeah.
And other than that, you're looking at something outside of World Cups, like 5-1 against Germany.
I thought
it's things that you're looking for moments. And this is probably the biggest one in our conscious memory. Euro 96 had some moments as well, for example. So technically we're alive then, but we don't remember it.
Germany at the Euros in 2020, I thought had all the ingredients, but hasn't lived with me in quite the same way.
I think that Germany team has been shit on a bit. I think that's a big win, actually. And Southgate probably doesn't get the credit for that. When everyone says he only beat teams he should, I do think that's a genuinely good win, because we had nothing like that on the CV prior to it.
Havertz missed a 1-on-1 in that game, didn't he?
Yeah, we were all like, this is going to be the closer. So, yeah, it was a moment where if this game had nothing on the line, you'd have been entertained. But the fact it had so much on the line was, you immediately knew you were buzzed. The time of night it happened was part of the story, I think. That there's something adds to it, the fact that you stayed up for that. It feels like you're kind of in a small collective of people, even though a decent part of the country is going to be doing it.
Yeah.
And then, it's almost like you've kind of shared trauma together. You've done it by staying up, by going through that emotion, and then looking at the players who have been through this together. And there's nothing like winning when you've been down to 10 men and it feels like you've been right under the cosh. Like everything against you in terms of the crowd. It felt like we were potentially going to get jobbed just because the ref, I think, let the fans get on top of him. He will get onto the decisions, but it certainly felt like we could have got away with at least one of those.
Yeah.
And yet we still managed to overcome it. Every other time England fold and we have the things we can point to, and like I said, the oh so nears, the excuses, the fact that we've been able to come through that is, I don't know, it's magic. And it gives you kind of renewed hope in a way that if we just go out and win routinely, or even if we smash them, I don't think would give you the same feeling.
The time was a huge part of it. There was a huge difference the first time you stayed up for a wrestling pay-per-view compared to seeing it on Sky One on a Saturday morning. That plays for all the people. Whenever I would stay up for boxing, and it was like, well, I don't get why you don't just watch it in the morning. I'm like, it's just not the same as, even though. So for most of these boxing ones, you're the only other person, or Rory maybe, that is experiencing it at the same time as me, even if we're not together. And yet the fact I am experiencing, I know it's happening right at this second.
Yes.
Knowing that Ronda Rousey's been knocked out by Holly Holm 6 hours earlier doesn't have the same thing to me as this has just happened. No. Particularly with social media and all of this now. Yeah. When I went on after the game yesterday, I saw an American, and a lot of their thoughts on football is kind of, we've seen it over the last couple of weeks.
Haven't we just?
One of them, the first tweet I saw said, that's the best game of football I've ever seen. And yes, I saw the World Cup final in 2022. Now, obviously it wasn't a better game, but the feeling of all of that and everything that played into it, and the fact it took place on American soil, people going crazy for that yesterday. I saw all kinds of, I guess, like outside celebrities in the last couple of weeks that have been like, I need to find myself a Premier League football team because I want to be a part of this moving forward.
A lot of Americans do.
A lot of them that say, I need a team to find, seem to get Arsenal or Spurs as the two that they end up with, which is a very different path to be going.
Yeah.
I think it's fun. I don't know if you've seen the Michael Harris II content of Atlanta Braves. He's a baseball player. Okay. And
yes.
Yeah. He basically just gets the England fans there chanting his name for the whole 9 innings.
They just picked a random player.
That's right, gotcha.
And now he's tweeting every game in an England kit. So he's like a fan, and this is what football does. And it's funny watching football fans go to games, especially like baseball. You saw the Scotland fans earlier on in the tournament. You've seen England fans doing it now. And they're just constantly bemused by these people that want to sing for. They said, are they going to stand and sing for the whole 9 innings? It's like, and then a bit more if you let them. If you don't kick them out, they'll just stay. And it's just so fun seeing this culture shock hit American sports, where they're just not used to it. I think with the scenes we see after the game, and I'm sure we'll come on to those, but that all feeds into it as well, where it's almost like we're all just one people enjoying this. Not to get too fucking on my soapbox here, but we're just one people enjoying this one thing the whole world loves. And the Americans can turn their nose up at it, or they've got their own thing, which is fine. But at the same time, you're missing out on something that's so pure and fun. And like you said, watching it at that time, it creates that excitement. It creates that, what the fuck have I just seen? What have I just witnessed? Where were you when you saw this kind of moment?
Yeah.
Like all the big England games we were just speaking about, you know where you were when you were watching them. I'm going to run out into my garden as a kid when David Beckham scored against Greece and knee sliding. And just stuff like that, that if you don't watch this fantastic sport at the time that it's actually done, you miss out on just so much.
I saw an American say, I do this with the best intentions every single tournament. Just wait until it's Man City Fulham on a Saturday morning and it kills your enthusiasm immediately. So we'll see how many of them cling on, but I'm sure there's enough in there, and I think it's different enough. I don't need to see any more tweets from Americans saying how they would change football and how they could make it better and get rid of red cards and do this, and it's like perfectly fine.
Yeah,
we'll complain, but it's like we feel like we can complain because we're sitting there every week and
I'd say the
going
most
through it.
Successfully exported sport in the world by a mile, probably okay. Probably just getting by all right.
I think the comparison with the Mexico one and the Colombia one, and I think you kind of touched on it, is we were against some real shithouses on both occasions. I don't know if you've seen the clip of the Mexico manager yesterday yelling Gordon's name 3 times only for him to turn around and tell him to fuck off.
And then immediately laughing.
Gordon seemed to see the funny side as well. Which, of all the players on the pitch, he wouldn't have me down as perhaps the one that is going to see the funny side of that. And it is great when you have something like the O'Reilly elbow that I'd gone for a piss at that point, came back and, I'd heard it happen where I hadn't seen the replay yet.
Yeah.
The same teams that love to do the physical stuff, we're going to touch on Paraguay, are the same ones that when something like that happens against them are up in arms. I can't believe what's going on.
You shitting yourself when you saw the replay of that? I thought they might try it.
I mean, the way that game had gone, I was like, I was hoping we're not going to see a replay because I was thinking if we don't see it, they're not going to see it. So it was just me.
I think Tuchel had the exact same thought. I don't think it's a coincidence that he got hooked immediately. I don't think that was a coincidence.
Before they could send him off, just sub it. It was so good.
Even that player that stood over Kane and screamed at him. I love it when my player does that. Gabriel did it. Nkapie did it against Neto when we played Chelsea, and Rice did it to Archie Gray, I think, which was the only one I felt a bit bad for when we played them this season. Like when it's your guys getting fired up, and when I feel insane stakes with England, but I do have the realization that this aren't the same stakes I'm feeling when it is Arsenal. And so it's kind of like being on a roller coaster. I can enjoy the fact that I am at this terrifying height and we could come off the track at any point. And so, everything about it yesterday. We won't do a full play-by-play, but if I start here with a Mexican player and then we'll do all the England ones. Raul Jimenez was a man on a mission yesterday. And I don't know if anyone wants to say anything on him before we kind of celebrate a few of our players.
Just from the off, he was so busy and just wanted to show it for his country. He was obviously... He probably saw the significance of playing the country which he plays his football in and wanted to perform against it.
I think they said in the opener that he hadn't scored in his previous 2 tournaments, so the fact he's off the mark in this one probably adds to it.
And everything he did was brilliant. Like the headers.
Yeah, in the air, an absolute nightmare. The first save Pickford makes from that is the pick of the bunch. That's a joke. To get down that low, get a stronger hand on it as he does, because it's an unbelievable header from there.
It's insane. And you just got to hold your hands up and say, that guy tried to put his country on his back. And he almost got there.
I don't even think Pickford was perfect in this one, but it was far more like it. It was proactive goalkeeping. I wish he'd catch a few more of them. That's been my biggest issue with him all tournament. But this was far more puffing his chest out. I'm that guy, and you ain't getting past me today.
I saw... Obviously, I look out for keepers, and especially our keepers, because I love to point out when they're wrong. I just thought he was absolutely everything you'd want in the Azteca from a goalkeeper. Assertive, aggressive. His aggression to come in like, I don't care if my player's in the way or you're in the way. I'm getting that fucking ball. You're not. And You need that bit of mental, but he didn't let the lid off. He just kept that aggression and that absolute mentalness that he has under wraps enough for it to be an asset more than to detract from his game. And that was him judging where balls were going to be, judging where shots were going to be. Some of his saves were fantastic, and not just because of the acrobaticness of them, but of his footwork to actually be there. He seemed locked into that game. And the only thing that would have put the icing on the cake was saving the pen. And I could see the strategy of which he tried to do, just didn't execute it.
Tried to spook him,
Yeah.
didn't spook
And
him.
he knew what he wanted to do. It just got it slightly wrong.
And then showed him a decent, here's this side of the net.
Yeah,
Do you want
yeah.
it? Yeah, go on.
Yeah.
Go on.
Kept at it.
Yeah.
But he was just...
The whole team just
Just
showed like incredible
empowering.
personality, didn't they?
Yeah.
Because it kind of got lost in amongst, because it ended up just becoming chaos. Actually, if you look at that first 20, 25 minutes, we have managed that almost perfectly.
Yeah.
We've deliberately, you could tell, tried to slow it down.
Mhm.
We've tried to take the sting out of it. We've got them rattled with some of the fouls that they're giving away. The crowd started to take them out of it or get them pissed off, taking our time with things. And then, by the time we obviously get the first goal and then the second in quick succession, you're kind of thinking, this is kind of a masterclass. Perfect from Tuchel and how he set the team up. Perfect from the team and how they approached it, each of them. And obviously it descends into chaos. But actually that first bit, you go, yeah, that is kind of the game plan was kind of perfect.
Up to the 52nd minute, that was almost... Well, that was pretty much bang on what you'd want from an away day in the Azteca, I think, from any team. Maybe we get through to half-time unscathed.
The thing is, with their goal to make it 2-1, the quality of the ball into the box is such that I know we haven't defended well for large parts of this tournament, but that can cause chaos.
It's also so soft of a free
and it's
kick.
never a free kick. Is the thing. It's never a free kick. So
you said that we slowed it down. There was one player on our team that didn't get the memo that we were slowing it down. That was Anthony Gordon. It was like, fucking hell, how's he going to cope with this for the entirety of the game? And then he did. He
shifted
the rest of the game. I know there was a big thing, and they've spoken about it in some of the behind the scenes stuff, that Tuchel's motto is basically to make training harder than any game can be. I think there was a story that came out when he was at Chelsea that he made the defenders defend with tennis balls in their hands so they couldn't grab the player. So by the time they got to the game, it was this whole extra thing they could do. And I'm probably explaining that poorly, but he just make it. Yeah. And so Rice said with the altitude, it's a bit different, but it really wasn't that big of a deal when they got to the game. They'd done a hard training session the day before. It's not going to be any worse than this. Let's get on with it now. And I think if anyone personified what we were doing, Jude, we're obviously going to talk about it, but Gordon, I thought,
unbelievable.
Yeah. It was a big game for him, and he delivered, didn't he?
It's like he was playing Liverpool.
Yeah,
because he has a look in his eye when he plays Liverpool that is like, I've heard everything you've ever said about me, and even if it doesn't come off, I'm going to do my utmost to punish you today. And very good. And that's what you want. If you get the shirt back, now you got to keep it, and he's starting the next game.
Oh yeah,
absolutely.
Yeah.
The three highest contributors for goal and assists in the squad are Kane, Bellingham, and Saka, and all three of them combined again. Saka shows you the difference in levels when he's out there with just that cross for Bellingham, because I didn't think he was great before or after that, to be honest.
No,
he just looked not sharp. Obviously still a brilliant player.
An Arsenal source said that for basically the back 3 months of the season, the talk was get through the end of the season, hopefully win the league, and you can't go to the World Cup. And then he basically said, I'm not missing a World Cup. I'm obviously going. Tuchel was happy to bring him along, and so he's not even training. He's just playing the games at this point.
Wow.
It's such a great move, though, isn't it? All round. From
Rice
Pickford to
galloping
Rice.
up.
Yeah, Rice doing what he does. Ball from Saka, the run from Bellingham.
You saw the best of all of those players you just mentioned in that one move.
Yeah.
To show you what they can do. We were struggling a little bit with their press, so Rice just took it upon himself. Well, I'm going to bypass this press and just run it straight up the field.
If you scored that in training, you'd be like, well, that's great, but that's not going to happen too many times on the pitch, because you're not all going to do that at the same time.
There's a thing they said all season in the NBA where they would say everyone's better than Jalen Brunson until it's time to be better than Jalen Brunson. And all of the pundits, and not even so much the TV ones, but the ex-pros and that, will tell you we can do this. We've just got to take Rice out of the team. We do this, or move Rice, whether it's for Mainu or whether it's for whoever else is going to be in that team. And then time and time again, he does show you that even if at this stage you're still talking down on his technical ability, his ability to just move with the ball is something that very few footballers on the planet have, to gallop and swallow up the ground. And yeah, he's just... And it must help when you have Saka there. When you know it's Saka there, you can just slide it into and let him do the rest of it. That's a huge thing.
And look, unless Declan Rice is in bits, and I think the injury stuff with him has been started to be overplayed at some point with some pundits, just because they were like, because then that's the only reason you'd ever entertain taking Rice out of the team is because you think he is too compromised to be able to play. I haven't looked at him and thought he can't play. Even if you go, rest him for the last group game, whatever, of course. But I've never looked at him and gone, he needs taken out of here.
Well, people still believe the passing backwards stuff, and he plays more forward passes and more key passes forward than any other player in that team is. Scholes is one of them where he's made the point now that Rice isn't this or isn't that. He's going to stick with it. So
but look, he's not the most expansive passer of the ball.
No.
But
he's effective.
The other things he brings are going to counteract the fact he's not the way he carried the ball like that. Not many players can do.
And then Bellingham, who we've not referenced yet, he does it all. The 2 goals, the tackle from the corner at the end of the first half. I've referenced it a few times in the last few weeks, but Craig Hope was on TalkSport. His article was 8 months yesterday, I believe, where the headline was in reference to leaving Jude out of the squad for the tournament because squad harmony is something we need to prioritise. He's got such a bad attitude. It doesn't look to me like the players dislike him. It doesn't look to me like I'd want anyone else in that position other than him.
I've never really understood that. I mean, look, Craig Hope is Craig Hope. I mean, he's a joke. But you didn't need just that to know that. But it's the thing with him. The only other time I thought, you've got a bit of an issue was during the last tournament where I thought he kind of was sulking a little bit before anyone had got on their backs. He was sort of saying that the media, whatever, were unfair. And I thought, actually, at that point, the media hadn't really been there. And then the more he said it, the more they were going to get aggravated. And then our performances were crap. So there's nothing for them to say. But that's the only, outside of that, I think he's pretty much exemplary in terms of his behaviour. You could see how, like I said, the other players feel about him, like him, respect him. And the way he talks about other players. Top players like that aren't normally as complimentary as he is. Look at isn't how he talks about, obviously, Kane. He's kind of glowing in how he speaks about him. They all are, in fairness. But he spoke about Jordan Henderson in a way that I was like, fuck me. Who's this guy that he's talking about? Because I bet if you're in a dressing room with him, he can make you feel top of the world. Also, he is that guy that he'll get us out of trouble today. This performance from him was, without making it about one of our players, because he probably didn't do enough for England, but it was a Gerrard-like performance where he has said, fuck this, we are not losing today.
Yeah.
I don't care how, we're winning it. I'm going to put the team on my back.
We had this conversation earlier on in the season where I was saying, we were all discussing the fact that doesn't really happen anymore. Where you get a Gerrard and they just take the game by the scruff of the neck and say, follow me, let's get this done. And I watched that game and I've watched it again and I've watched the highlights, and that guy did something that I haven't seen done since the kind of Gerrard era where someone put the team on their back and said, follow me.
Yeah, and when you say leave it all out there, he
left it all that one last sprint at the end, you were like, this guy's going to collapse. Yeah. Like, he is ready to go. The fact that they left him on to basically be the guy up top. Yeah. Like we said when Rodgers came on, it's like, well, if he's going to go on, we were saying put Watkins on to stretch them, whatever. There's no point in Kane being there at that point. Get someone, the only outball you've got, someone with pace and drive and fresh legs. It wasn't him, but Rodgers came on. I was like, well, maybe he'll do that. No. Jude, you're being left there and you're going to do it. And that was, it's a superhuman effort.
Can I ask you,
on a place that was on normal without the altitude stuff that we've spoken about, the fact that I almost had to remind myself on like 80 minutes, like, oh yeah, shit, they are at altitude. We spoke about this all week.
Yeah.
If I ask you both, we've done the selection thing a couple of times and who we should have brought and who we shouldn't. If we say everyone's available, do you think Bellingham is doing this if he has one or both of Foden or Palmer next to him?
No, and I think this is exactly why. I think they've learned lessons from the past. I was querying you probably still want to take at least one of them for the games like Panama, but now we're past those kind of low block teams, you would say, and you look at that and you go, well, we don't need that type of player now. I was sat here last week defending Tuchel and the way that he sets up his teams, and I'm telling you that when we play teams that come out against us, we will have these athletic runners that will find space and create goals. And I've been telling everyone this week, every time you've got this like kind of casual fan at work, so I was playing shit at the moment. I was like, no, we're not. We're just getting ready to be good. Like,
I think if we did a push out of the top Congo game, I'm sure we're playing great.
Don't you worry. Just don't worry. I had it literally yesterday. Yesterday was pretty much proved it right, where you don't want a technical Phil Foden, Cole Palmer though. You want a big, physical, driving presence, and he's got it right.
I think it's more of him just saying, just get out of the way. Like, you don't need to be here.
I think he is at the stage at this point of his development and his personality where he still would have done, even if he had one of those players that he would have seen less of the ball.
That's what I mean. Like, would he have been able to do it?
I think he just said, "Fuck this! I'm taking over anyway." I just think he's elevating in that, and with all due respect to both those players, as good as they are not that type of personality. No. I don't think.
And I think we've learned from the past with trying to fit Scholes, Lampard, Joe, and it's the kind of the oldest thing in England's kind of scroll, our history on that. And maybe he's just learned that this is the best guy for how I want to play. He's given Kane a partner, which I didn't ever think he would need or we could do in an effective way. But his first goal yesterday perfectly just sums up them both, where Kane's occupying like 2 or 3 defenders, dragging him to the near post. When the ball is just about to be crossed in, he's still out the fucking box. He just drives in and finds that space, and it's just, that's what England's been missing. It's been Kane or bust for way too long, where now you've got 2 danger men to contend with, and to try and defend against 2 people of that skill set in 2 completely different ways, you just can't. It's just a really effective weapon that we now have.
We got the best of Kane across both games last week. We got ruthlessness in front of goal, unselfish nature, and not fucking around with penalties. And that equates to 3 goals, 2 knockout ties, 1, and into the next round. Let me ask you just a couple of questions more before we move on. Was it a red card for Jarrell Kwanzaa? Was that the right call?
Yeah. As much as in the moment I felt like everything was going against us, I think it's a Curtis Jones against Spurs, where he rolls over the top of the ball, doesn't mean to go that high, but his legs bounced off the ball and he's gone that high.
I think it's worse than that. I think he can point his foot down at that point. I know we're watching it in slow motion, but the Jones one was his foot kind of rebounded up off the top of the ball and then collided with whoever it was, Shin. Kwanzaa's just, the ball's gone and he's left his foot pointed out right like that. I just think, in real time, we were all fired up saying, get into him then. And then on comms, they were like, and there's nothing wrong with that. And then we saw Gordon get shoved over. And he was kind of messing around. And I said, is he going over to the monitor?
Yeah.
I think the Lancers was like, no, he's going to towel one of the benches off or something. It looks like he's going over to the monitor.
And then it comes in the bottom corner.
Of the 2, you knew the Gordon one wasn't in the box.
Yes.
And so it had to be the other one, exactly. And how incensed that Mexico team and bench and whatever else were.
But they'd obviously spotted it in real time, so, and they're always going to play on that. I think it is. The Jones one I didn't think was a red. Of course, he was unlucky with, like I said, how he rolled over the ball. This, it probably is a red card. The only thing is, I do think, is it enough in there that you have to intervene? I don't know. I'd probably only say it because the leg isn't planted. Yeah. And I don't know whether that should factor in as much or it shouldn't. I think it probably should, because that's about endangering, but maybe it shouldn't. I do sometimes think with the follow-through ones, players can be very unlucky. And sometimes that red card is kind of
That didn't feel to me like an unlucky one, though. That felt to me like if you allow players that you kind of have carte blanche if you take the ball, you don't want to see what Caicedo's doing next season.
Well, this is it. If Romero's doing that for Argentina, we're calling for his head.
And it probably is a young player trying to, like you say, go through someone and lay down a marker.
Stick with a similar theme then. So the penalty that goes against us, see that coming in real time. It's like, don't kick like that.
Yeah.
Don't kick like
when
that.
you see a ball up in the air, it's like, don't swipe for it.
And I'm not saying that's a penalty.
Yeah.
That's going to be, and then again, you have a little break in the game and you go, oh no.
Yeah.
Don't
give a foul immediately after a contentious decision, right?
Idea in my head.
Because if it just plays on people,
don't let it go out of play. Just let it go.
Yeah.
And then they're going to feel psychologically they can't go back.
Yeah.
That's the way to do it.
On FIFA, you used to be able to nail someone, and as long as you kept the ball until half time, you weren't going to get booked. And I feel like that with VAR. If you just keep passing it around, you're going to be sound.
Yeah.
The shirt pull on the counter attack to stop play. If you carry on and play the advantage, if you keep going, that ref will forget it. Yeah. He will not pull it back and give the guy
that one game last year,
even though he has to.
That one game last season, I needed someone to get Cardiff like 300 quid. I yanked the shirt back. He carried on. He didn't go back and give the bucket. I was raging.
The interesting thing on the VAR thing, it was Guy Mowbray, the lead commentator, wasn't it? Now he's a decent commentator. He's pretty awful, I think, at letting you know what's going on in the VAR. If I'm assuming they still get the feed in the same way as they do at Sky. I don't know if it's quite as efficient or whatever. But I'm assuming they know more than we do. I don't know if that's
I don't know
the case.
that they do. So I think like in the Champions League, you hear them talk about it and they don't seem to know what's going on.
But it's more like, as the viewer, you feel like there's a VR check going quicker than he does.
Yeah.
And I just don't know that can happen. I think you need to be led a little bit. And it feels a little bit like you're all at sea. And it's unfortunate, but he's kind of sometimes one of them. He was sort of like almost like mid-anecdote. It's like, probably not now.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Probably like there's something going on here. And, look, I'm not saying it's an easy job. And so it's easy for me to say that. But it's probably a part of the commentary thing that he's not had to do probably so much. A few of them would have had to learn over the last few years. And I do get frustrated sometimes with that because, like you said, you'd spotted he was going to the VAR monitor. We were going, okay, yeah, he has. And it felt like comms were like a couple of minutes behind almost.
I heard John Murray's call on BBC Radio and he did it very well. I guess that's what you have to do when you're doing radio. Shearer, I thought you could think it wasn't a pen, but perhaps not as strongly as he didn't think it was a pen.
Yeah.
He was very, very struck by that can't be a penalty.
I think we've had a higher threshold for those in the Premier League this season.
We got away with one of those this season at Goodison Park. Saliba kicked through someone's leg and it was like, oh, fucking hell.
Yeah,
and then they ruled it out and I thought, oh.
Yeah, they've started doing this thing where they've noticed that attackers are just getting their foot in front of someone clearing and just going, well, they're trying to win a foul there.
Yeah.
But I can see why people think it wasn't. I just think it was.
It's clumsy, I think.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, when you look at a replay, you go, that probably is a foul.
Other ends, like Madueke, Modric, same tournament. It's pretty much the result, just in our favour. You're shouting for it. You're screaming for it.
Let me ask you two more questions and we'll move on. After conceding 2 goals in this game, do you feel better or worse about England's defence than you did going into it?
Better. Genuinely. I think this game showed everything that we're good at in all different ways, where we had game management, controlling, took our chances, scored 2 in 90 seconds. The one blight on that record is then the goal we can see before half-time. Then there was this one, which was we then go down to 10 men. We defend for our lives. Well, not even immediately. We go to 10 men, and then we get our third. And then we kind of like all back to the wall, and you just see bodies being put on the line. Seeing Dan Burn taking his set. I tweeted earlier that, if you've seen those videos of when people kick a football into a wind turbine and it just spoons the ball like a kilometre in the other direction, that's Dan Burn. He's headed the ball twice and has landed in the opposition half twice from his own 6-yard box. He's just those game managements of the kind of fringe players coming in and doing their job while they were bought.
Those are great moments as well, because I think that makes the whole squad feel connected. You've all had some sort of impact on this. Dan Burn has now had a tangible impact on this
Can I ask you a question about him before we come back to the defence question at large?
Yeah, sure.
So if you're the FA, you've got a report card that you filled out before Tuchel's gone away to the World Cup, where regardless, you're going to review him. And when you're doing your questions before the tournament, you've seen the same squad as all of us, and you've got, why did you bring Dan Burn?
Yeah.
Do you think last night was enough that come the end of it, whatever happens in this tournament, they can cross that question out and say, that's been answered?
I think Thomas Tuchel will think he can. My thing is, I don't disagree with people who say he justified his selection last night. I would just say I think Harry Maguire could do exactly the same thing and probably more. Is my thing. Is the whole point with that is, if I thought Jed Spence did well, for example, do I think nobody else could do what he did? No, I think somebody else could have. So that whole thing of justifying his selection, and I will say it was telling, I thought, how happy people were for each other and how happy they were for Dan Burn, for example. A lot of people went immediately up to him. So there is that idea of harmony or whatever he's created in the squad is spot on. He has obviously got the group dynamics right. The only thing being, a result like that will galvanise and bring a team closer together. Almost whoever's in the squad, unless you've got a real prick in the squad. And I don't think there's any indication that someone like Maguire is a bad character. I think all his teammates have always liked him, United and England. They've always rallied around him at tough times. And one thing about Southgate, he tended to get the group vibe right, even if there's indications that maybe in the last tournament he didn't. So I think some of the conversations around it they're correct, but also the person that would have been coming in for the guy, I think probably could have done similar. You said, are you feeling better or worse about the defence? I would say this has been a lovely train ride. We've had some train beers. I'm going to wish you guys luck further on the head on the journey. This is my stop. I'm going to get off. I feel worse about the team defensively. I think that game state was perfect for us defensively because we had no choice. We had to go. We are sitting in. We're under the cosh. We're going to bring on John Stones. And again, brilliant that he was able to fill part of it. Dan Burn, whatever.
The one at the end, he scrambled around the post.
Yeah. Tried to tuck it away himself. But I thought that was great. And it was it was a brilliant night that we'll all remember. I do worry about a better team against us, where it's 11 versus 11. I think when people say we'll play better against the better teams, I agree going forward we will. But I think defensively, I do think we will get found out.
On the break on Saturday.
Yeah. I think, I thought Ezra and Gahey have probably grown into the tournament as well. I think they've sort of shown personality. But I just think through some injuries and some we are just structurally not as good defensively as we have been. I do think at some point we could get whacked, and we might be, oh shit, how did this happen?
I think the tactics will obviously dictate who we're playing against, and we've shown yesterday how to weather a storm in probably one of the most hostile environments you can play in, both conditions and atmosphere. And up until the 40th minute, pretty much one of the best away performances I've seen.
I think you might be forgetting that first 10. The first 10 wasn't very pleasant.
We gave away some chances. Every team gives away chances.
But while you are right in terms of it was a difficult game, in terms of the personnel they had, they don't have world-class players. So if you've got a couple of those against us, that's where I start to want. Let's face it, I think I'm really just shook by that France performance. But maybe if you take them out, but then even Spain, Argentina, Norway, who we've got coming up, there are world class players in there. Yeah. And can they expose some of our frailties? I guess is my concern.
Yeah, they probably can. I think that's a really interesting point. If you take France out of this equation, you're sat there going, "This is anyone's," right? Really,
Spain scare me as well.
I think we can hurt these other teams as well. Don't get me wrong, but Spain I just worry.
Spain's France is the Thanos, right? It's just the Infinity Stones of what the fuck do we even do against this team?
And even if you ignore, because of all the chaos that happened in this game against Mexico, we've conceded really good chances to Congo. Vissa probably should have put us to bed with that. It should be 2-0, and I don't think we'd have come back from that. Panama had decent chances for a team that didn't really come out. Croatia obviously was a bit of a crazy game anyway. So, yeah.
I think that
everyone does concede chances. You are right, but it's just
we look at it from the lens of like our attack and defence being separate entities, right? And I think teams will be so scared of our attack. Like, we're terrified of France's attack. I can see France starting up and going, I'm fucking terrified of this attack. And they will alter their team play differently to us. And so I'm not
also you get past their midfield and Saliba's waiting for you.
Yeah, fair enough. But
I don't know if that team is scared. I don't know. There's something about it.
Maybe France is a bad example because they've
got a bit of an aura about them, haven't they?
I'll shift this on. Just a couple more
But
questions.
Kane and Bellingham do have that. We're here. We are. It's a superstar tournament. This hasn't. The superstars have turned up, and they are firmly in there. They are our two standout. They can win you a game on their own.
This shows that we can tuck in, sit deep, and just let Kane and Bellingham do their thing with one good winger to accompany them.
And that thing that, like, you know, are we overly reliant on them? If you're overly reliant on your two world class players, what a nightmare.
Yeah,
it's meant when in like the year where you were like, well, if you took Suarez and Sturridge out of Liverpool, seems like, well, yeah, I mean, that's going to be a bit of an issue, isn't it? Yeah, that's a big problem.
Let me ask a few more questions about the other things that have gone in the last week, and then we'll get to Spain and Portugal. So we gathered that Trump made some boss calls in the last week to Infantino to get Balogun's red card suspended. Since the time we basically started recording, he's hosted a press conference to gloat about just how good of a job he did in this. Balogun, by the time people listen to this, really, he could be a hero. He could have had a stinker. I don't know how that game is going to play out come 1 a.m., but we'll see. The ethics of it are ropey at best. You do want to see the best players. Yes, it was a horrible decision, but the decision was given, and there is no other rule in place for this to happen. It's pretty similar, actually, to the Kwanzaa one in terms of.
Is it a horrible decision?
If you're not looking at where your foot's going down, I have an issue with, like, you're just looking for ground, basically. But the fact there's no law in place for you to be able to appeal this, and somehow you make enough calls to Infantino, who, let's not forget, was cozying up to Trump after he missed out on the Nobel Peace Prize, who created a prize just to give to him so he could have some FaceTime with him.
It's rare you get corruption just openly displayed to you.
Well, that's the issue with it being him, is he is going to gloat and tell you just how good of a job he's done. He does seem to have taken a shine to Harry Kane, so maybe if Kane gets sent off, then we could be sorted out as well. This could go down as being really controversial if they knock Belgium out, or even anyone else out after Belgium, and we say, well, they could have gone out in that game and so on. I don't know. I don't want my politicians involved in football, full stop, to be honest. I just keep them as far away as possible. I don't like stuff Starmer, I guess, has indirectly been gloating about that he was involved in the kickoff time for the England game. Let's just keep all of them to one side.
I do think that's different. I think,
but it's not. He shouldn't be. Why is he getting involved in it?
He's arguing to keep something in place to keep it fair.
Why is it him?
Whereas this.
Let's not have any politicians involved.
Wasn't someone at the FA got enough authority to be able to.
There's also that. But then if we got a football fan as Prime Minister, you're probably going to want him to go into bat.
If we had a kick-off time and a French politician or a German, whoever it's going to be, is having any kind of influence, we'd all say, oh, that's a bit mucky, that.
You make a good point.
But my next question is, if Bellingham or Harry Kane were to get a red card in the next game, who are we sending from England to speak to Trump or Infantino to get this suspension lifted? Because I don't think he's listening to Keir Starmer or any of our politicians. So do we have a spokesperson that we can put forward to get this done?
Big John the Bosch father, I reckon. That's my favourite.
I'm sending Ross Kemp. The sheer passion.
Yeah.
There's a video of him celebrating one of the goals where he starts dribbling saying how much he loves Jude Bellingham. It's like, this guy loves it.
He might not even necessarily be a club football fan. He just locks in for the English tournament.
Yeah, which is, by the way, like another level of passion. When you do get someone like that, they are, because they've almost got it saved up for 2 to 4 years at a time.
They're tantric.
Yeah.
I asked you both this question and then realised I didn't really have an answer myself. So, does Dua Lipa support the English national team?
No, I think she does, yeah.
Can't be many more convincing people for us to send across to have a word with Trump. If she's busy on her honeymoon, Maya Jama, maybe. Let's move on. Let's move on quite quickly.
European dollar.
Did I?
No, you didn't. No. I would say you should have known your audience.
Last thing then. So Paraguay played on Saturday night against France. Most spectators seem to switch from rooting for an upset on Saturday to almost celebrating when France got over the line against little old Paraguay. I don't know if either of you watched live. Paraguay basically were able to kick the shit out of France with very little deterrence. And the referee, all the way up to the final whistle, if France gave a bit back, was getting his cards out for them. A lot of people seem pretty worked up by it. For what I thought I was going to get with France-Paraguay, I was entertained. It added something to the game to me. I enjoyed it. It gave me someone to root against in not quite the big picture, but in that small moment, like when Mbappe is laughing in their faces in the corner. That makes sense to me because you've been trying to kick him around all game. I had no issue with it whatsoever. I had no issue with Mexico trying to do it to us yesterday. Maybe I'd feel differently if we'd gone out, but
Yeah.
I don't know. And I enjoyed Mbappe's reaction.
I think football is full of these stories, these little games. That could have been a 4-0 walkover by France in another
Well, people
world.
saying it was another level, basically.
That's it. There's a general feeling, wasn't it, that it overstepped the mark in terms of either the amount of fouling or the ferocity of it, I guess.
I think
because I wasn't watching it live. I was at that gig, so I've seen that afterwards. All this reaction, I was like, "What happened on this pitch?" And then obviously everyone's in bits because France were the only ones who ended up getting a card.
Commentary weren't helping, but there was like 3 players that looked like they were kind of trying to gang up on Mbappe at the end. Mbappe didn't shake the keeper's hand after the game.
I agree with you that I love a situation where if you're able to overcome that and then you can laugh at them, I think that's great. And kind of Mbappe gave a really good interview when he spoke about it.
He said, "We've shown we're not just a team that knows how to play attacking football. If we have to get our hands dirty, we'll do it. They thought we'd show up in tuxedos to play, but we know how to play dirty football too. If they tell us to fuck off, we'll tell them to fuck off too."
This reminds me of England-Colombia, funnily enough, when we win the penalty shootout and John Stones and Harry Maguire have turned around and given it absolute licks to Barros.
If one of our players had given that direct quote, if they'd given that quote, I would be so fucking hyped. I would be so hyped. It's ridiculous.
I enjoyed, never in my mind would I come up with they thought we came to play in tuxedos. But it's like, it's perfect.
This is a bit like now they've got the auto-translate on Twitter. You're just seeing another side to other cultures that you're so funny in such a different way to us.
The difference in punditry and some of the ways they can word it. Gary Neville speaking after the Brazil game yesterday was like, "I'm absolutely fuming with Gabriel there." Why are you fuming with Gabriel in a game that you have no stake in? This is so weird. And then you get this from like some of the other players.
Segueing onto Gabriel, every time Haaland scored, the cameraman panning to Gabriel was just a touch.
It's always going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a thing. I'm happy he's going home sooner. But also this idea that that's like the most embarrassing thing in the world. I know they have their rivalry. We're saying this is the best striker in world football. If Gabriel stops him 10 times in the game and Haaland stops him twice, Haaland is the one who's got the better of that matchup. So that's just how it goes. So get him home, nice rest, get him fired up for next season because he might be without Saliba. So,
but he immediately knew as well, didn't he? With that header where he's just boshed him, he's like, "Oh fuck me, I know what's going to happen there."
But I think that probably brings us to an end. To be honest, a bit too much time's passed for Cape Verde and anything else from there. So, respectively, get your insight elsewhere for that.
They would have stored the tournament, but we're fucking in now. We're taking over. The plucky underdogs from England who thought we could do it.
Yeah, you did say we were underdogs going into that game. So
we really tried to.
So there we go. Thank you again for listening to another edition of the Spitballing Pod. As again, by the time we speak to you next week, England could be in the semi-final of the World Cup, or we could be looking ahead to the new Premier League season. So thank you. See you next time. Adios.